Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. Hope you're all doing very well, guys. I've got some transfer news for you guys and some Chelsea updates. Big up to everyone that's watching. Smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's get straight into it. We're going to start off with a big one. Mudryk has not been talked about much recently because obviously the whole doping scandal. But we've had an exclusive Sergej Palkin interview on Give Me Sport. For those of you who don't know who Sergej Palkin is, he is the Shakhtar Donetsk CEO. And he has revealed that Mykhailo Mudryk has passed a lie detector test to do with the doping scandal. He's passed a polygraph as he bids to clear his name from a doping ban sustained on international duty for Ukraine last November. Mudryk's currently provisionally suspended by the FA after an A sample returned positive for meldonium. He denies knowingly taking a banned substance, but athletes are strictly liable for anything undigested unless they can prove sabotage or a flaw in testing protocol. Mudryk faces a ban of up to 4 years if found guilty. So obviously it's a very serious situation for him. We're already fully aware of that. Now, when Mudryk joined us in January of 2023, it was a 70 million euro deal plus a further 30 million euros in add-ons. Now, Shakhtar could lose those bonuses if Mudryk doesn't play for Chelsea again. Palkin, the Shakhtar CEO, said, "I've spoken to Mudryk many times since his doping issue arose. He doesn't understand how it could have happened. He has no clue, no idea at all." So his lawyers have organized, or they did organize for him to take a lie detector test, which he passed, and it will form part of the evidence showing he didn't intentionally do anything wrong. Mudryk has been clear it's not his fault that he tested positive. We now need to find out how this happened and who did this. His lawyers are trying to find out. Now, that there isn't any results from the B sample yet, so that remains open. Nobody knows what's happened. And then again, the Shakhtar CEO says he wishes Mudryk all the best. He's a top professional and a good person. Obviously, this is important for Shakhtar as well because the add-ons from the transfer in 2023 won't be paid if he doesn't play for Chelsea again. So it's in everyone's best interest, Chelsea, from the perspective of getting a player that could potentially help the squad. And I know a lot of people don't really rate Mudryk, and I can appreciate that he has been underwhelming since he's come. I don't think we really realised how raw he was and how much he needed to improve, especially from a footballing IQ standpoint, because you can see there is ability, but he just doesn't really know how to use it at times. You have so much space and you don't necessarily know where to make the run or how to move. This is something that Frank Lampard spoke about. But he has been an asset for us this season when he was available. And although he played 7 games in the Premier League, didn't really start any of those games. No GA in the Premier League, but in the Conference League, he was a real asset. 6 GA in 4 appearances. And then in the qualifiers, he got an assist in 2 appearances as well as an assist in the Carabao Cup as well. So, not necessarily a starting player in the Premier League, but a good player to have around the squad. Ultimately, I think that Mudryk could have offered something for Chelsea. And when you're looking at some of the wingers that we've had real quiet spells with Neto, with Sancho, with Madueke, obviously being injured as well. And I do think that Mudryk could have helped us at times. Whether he would have won us any points is another question. But yeah, that's the update on Mykhailo Mudryk. So wishing him all the best, and I hope that situation can be resolved sooner rather than later. That's an ongoing process. An update on Christopher Nkunku. Chelsea are prepared to cut their losses on Christopher Nkunku and sell him for 40 million euros in the summer. This is according to Maxifoot, which is a French source. I don't know too much about them, so it's hard to say, how reliable they are. Obviously, Nkunku is French. 40 million euros. Is he worth 40 million euros? I don't know. I mean, in January, we were talking about getting rid of him for about, what was it, 60, 70 million Chelsea wanted for him. And they've really dropped that price since then. The truth is, Chelsea haven't really helped Nkunku in terms of his development. We've never really prioritized him, not this season at least. He had his injury problems last year. We've played him as a striker. We've played him as a winger. Basically play him everywhere except his natural position. And then we wonder why we haven't been able to get the best out of the player. There's no surprise that we're looking to get rid of him because his performances have clearly not been good enough. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think that Chelsea and Enzo Maresca have helped in that situation. I also don't think it helps when you're competing against Cole Palmer. Very difficult to win that battle after the season that he had last year. I guess the argument is that, if you would play Palmer on the right, then you would have opened up that number 10 spot, and you could have potentially got more out of Nkunku and João Felix. Potentially giving them more minutes this summer. Not just them, but also Carney Chukwuemeka, who I'm a huge fan of. And it seems like I'm not the only one, because Dortmund boss Niko Kovac, when asked about Chukwuemeka, he came out and said Carney is a very good footballer who has currently found himself in a situation he's never had before. He didn't get as many minutes as he did here at Chelsea. Like every player, he needed a certain amount of time to get going, and then he got what everyone wanted here, the playing time he needed. He also went on to say about Chukwuemeka, it's normal to have ups and downs. You have to give a player like that the opportunity. If he had already been a regular at Chelsea, we'd have never gotten him. We'll discuss that after the season. We're very happy to have him. He's already shown his ability several times. I personally like him a lot. So when you look at the Dortmund manager, Niko Kovac, obviously very happy with Chukwuemeka's progress at Dortmund. He had a slight injury issue. Never had the game time under Maresca. Maresca come out and said that he liked Chukwuemeka. He just couldn't see him getting the minutes, so he had to go out on loan. I think from a Chelsea perspective, look, there's two ways of looking at everything. There's obviously the footballing side and there's the financial side. We've paid less than 20 million for Chukwuemeka, around sort of 19 million pounds. And I think his release clause is about double, so 40. So the financial side says if Dortmund are willing to pay 40 million, you make 20 million. That's obviously positive considering Chelsea's finances are going to suffer, not getting you away for Champions League football. Yeah, there's a chance we could get it, but I think the likelihood is we probably won't. So I'm going to presume we're not finishing in the top 5. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that. So we have to make up for that deficit somehow. And unfortunately, selling players is the only other way to generate the revenue short term to make up for that deficit. And Chukwuemeka is clearly a player that Dortmund are happy with, and Niko Kovac is a fan of. They're not a club renowned for spending a lot of money, so maybe there'll be a bit of room for negotiation there. They'll probably try and meet us somewhere in the middle, or even bargain way down to almost what Chelsea paid for the player. So that's the financial side. When you look at the footballing side of things, for me, it's a no-brainer that Chukwuemeka needs to feature for Chelsea next season. He should have featured for Chelsea this season. I think he's a better player than João Felix. I think he has more to offer in this system under this manager than Nkunku. So then you look at him and you say, well, you're probably not going to play ahead of Cole Palmer, but Palmer's got to have a rest at some point. And if you're playing all these European games, and fingers crossed we take our domestic cups more seriously next season, then there'll be plenty of game time for Chukwuemeka at Chelsea. So this is a player that I would love to see return to the club. He's clearly progressing in Dortmund, maybe not as much as we would have hoped, because he did have a slight injury, but he's back on his feet now and he's performing. So that is another player to look out for, guys. And, my opinion is that he should be staying at Chelsea unless the financial situation is that bad that you're forced into selling the player. And that goes down to incompetence on a sporting director level, and also the ownership as well, and the way they choose to spend their money. Obviously, this could all be avoided if we just finish in the Champions League. We'd have player pool. We'd be able to offer more game time for a number of individuals because we'd be forced into rotating. That's just not going to happen without Champions League football. We will still rotate, but players don't want to go to Chelsea for Europa League football. They want to go for Champions League football. That's why Gyökeres and players like that aren't interested right now. He's looking at Arsenal and Liverpool. It's not because they're amazing clubs. It's because they're playing in the Champions League, and they will be playing in the Champions League next season. Another update regarding Liam Delap as well. Fabrizio Romano has come out and spoken about the Ipswich striker, saying the idea is Chelsea or Man United. There is also interest from Germany, it's true, but the player is really keen on staying in England and staying in the Premier League. Now, Liam Delap's obviously English, used to play at Man City, got his move to Ipswich. I think it was about £25 million that he ended up going there for. City do have a buyback clause. So if they did want to bring the player in, they would have the priority in terms of the clubs, but the player ultimately gets the final decision. And I think that, quite frankly, City probably aren't that interested because it is Chelsea and Man United that have been on the radar. So they are the main competitors we have for this player. Now, if you're asking me to choose between Osimhen, Gyökeres and Liam Delap, obviously it's Osimhen, then probably Gyökeres. And Liam Delap would be the third choice. We've heard about Jonathan David. We've heard about Benjamin Sesko at Leipzig as well. Those are players in a similar bracket to Delap, where I think they're probably more realistic signings than Osimhen and Gyökeres. But I think Delap is ahead of both of them in terms of Chelsea's priorities. If we're able to get the player, £30 million is the fee that Ipswich will accept because there's a relegation clause. And that's a great price for a decent player. Not an amazing player, not a bad player, he's a decent player. A player that I'd probably put alongside Nicholas Jackson with very different qualities and something different that he can bring to this team. I don't have a problem with bringing Liam Delap to Chelsea. I think that he improves Chelsea. I think he helps Chelsea. I think he gives Enzo Maresca a different dynamic. How many games have we been down and Jackson's come off and we've brought on Nkunku, for example, and you just think, really, this is going to be the game changer after the way, he's been utilized this season and some of the effort that he's put in, not been good enough whatsoever. And there are a lot of games where you think, right, we just need to get something. We need a physical presence. And I think that Delap is certainly that. The other thing that Delap has that we don't have with a player like Jackson is the ability to just shoot without thinking too much about it. That is the one thing people say about Jackson. You take too many touches, just have a crack. And Liam Delap will bring you that just no-nonsense finishing. That's what he does. Whether he's going to score that way or not is one thing, but he brings you a different dynamic up front. If we're competing against Man United for his signature, this is what we're going to be waiting for with Liam Delap is, are United going to get Champions League or Chelsea going to get Champions League? Because even if you look at the Premier League, United are just above the relegation zone. Chelsea are much higher, obviously, in the table, but United can still win the Europa League and get Champions League football that way. So if they were to achieve that under Ruben Amorim, then I do think they'd be in a better position to secure Liam Delap's signature than Chelsea, because right now we're not offering a great footballing project in terms of the short term. Like if you're a top player, you're not coming to Chelsea over, a lot of the other teams around where we are, Arsenal, Man City, Newcastle, etc. Because we don't look like, we're not offering big money and we're not offering immediate success for players. We are promising this long-term vision. And if you're a young player and you want game time and you want a long contract, like a 7-year deal, that works very well. But not everybody wants that. So we'll have to see what happens at the end of the season. I think whoever finishes in Champions League is going to be the one to secure the Delap's signature. The flip side is that United might not win the Europa League and Chelsea might still not get Champions League. I think in that case, then it comes down to the finances. And United, I could see offering more money than Chelsea, but we'd still have a form of European football, which United don't even have. So Yeah, that's a player that I do think Chelsea will realistically sign, and I think that he would probably end up choosing Chelsea as well. It's a deal that makes sense for both sides, and ultimately fits into our wage structure as well. So he's only on 45 grand a week at Ipswich. Let me know what you think about that, guys. I know a lot of people aren't necessarily keen on Delap. There are a couple of other strikers that have been spoken about. There's an Italian source called Tutto Juve, who have spoken about Dusan Vlahovic demanding an annual salary of £8.6 million to move to the Premier League, a wage that equates to around 165k per week. I don't see Vlahovic being involved in Chelsea. That makes no sense to me. I think that's just, I don't see that happening. I don't even think he's been that great. So no interest for me there. Teddy Sheringham's come out and said that he thinks Chelsea should go for Harry Kane as well. And Jackson's done all right, but Kane is of the very highest level. Why we're being linked with Harry Kane, I don't know. That again is like baffling to me. But yeah, that's what we're hearing going around. But realistically, we're going to be looking at Delap. We're going to look at Benjamin Sesko, Jonathan David. But Osman is obviously flying around. We've got De Bruyne potentially on a free. Jonathan Tah as well from Bayern Leverkusen. A number of things going on, guys. So let me know what you agree or disagree with in terms of what I've said. Do you believe that any of these players are going to be beneficial for us? Should Chelsea look to get a higher fee for Nkunku? Is he worth more than 40 million? Are you glad to hear that Mudryk passed the lie detector? Do you think he'll prove his innocence? I personally hope he do. I wish him all the best. Innocent until proven guilty, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, let me know, guys. All the best, and we will catch up very, very soon.